Language principles and functions. Language. Language is indeed a fundamental medium for expressing ideas, thoughts, and feelings. It encompasses a system of symbols, whether spoken, written, or signed, that people use to communicate. This system allows individuals to convey their internal experiences, share information, and interact with others. Key aspects of language include symbolism. Language uses symbols, words, sound, or signs that represents ideas or objects. These symbols are often arbitrary but are agreed upon with a linguistic community. Syntax and grammar. Language has rules, syntax and grammar that govern how symbols are combined to create meaningful sentences. These rules enable coherent and structured communication. Semantics. This refers to the meaning of words and sentences. Semantics helps in understanding how different combinations of words convey specific meanings. Pragmatics. This aspect focuses on the context of language use and how meaning is influenced by the situation, including the speaker's intent and the listener's interpretation. Expressiveness. Language allows people to express their thoughts, emotions, and desires. It provides a way to articulate complex ideas and share personal experiences. Language is a medium through which one can express one's ideas, thoughts, feels, etc. Aims of language teaching. Ability to understand speaking language. This involves comprehending spoken words and phrases in various contexts, which is crucial for effective communication and interaction. Next, ability to read. This focuses on developing literacy skills, including understanding written text, interpreting meaning, and analyzing the content. Next, development of creative skills. This encourages learners to use language in imaginative and original ways, fostering creativity in writing, speaking, and other forms of expression. Next, ability to understand the specific aspect of a language. This includes grasping grammatical rules, vocabulary usage, and other technical aspects of the language to enhance overall proficiency. Principles of language teaching. Principle of exercise. This principle emphasizes that language learning is enhanced through repeated practice and use. Regular practice helps reinforce language skills and build fluency. Exercises can include speaking, listening, reading, and writing activities. Next, principle of child-centered learning. This principle focuses on adapting teaching methods to the needs, interests, and developmental stages of children. It involves creating a learning environment that is engaging and responsive to the individual needs of each student, promoting more effective learning. Next, principle of exposure to the language. This principle stresses the importance of being immersed in the target language as much as possible. Exposure helps learners become familiar with the language's sound, structures, and usage, which aid in natural acquisition and comprehension. Next, principle of motivation and interest. Motivation plays a crucial role in language learning. This principle highlights the need for teaching methods that engage students and maintain their interest. When learners are motivated and interested, they are more likely to invest effort and persist in learning. Principle of oral approach. This principle emphasizes the importance of spoken language practice. It suggests that oral skills should be developed before written skills, as speaking and listening are fundamental to effective communication. The approach often includes activities like dialogues, role plays, and conversation practice. Principle of habit formation. This principle is based on the idea that consistent practice leads to the formation of language habit. By repeatedly practicing language structures and usage, learners develop automatically and accuracy in their language skills. Correlated with life. This principle suggests that language teaching should be relevant to real life context and experiences. Incorporating real life situations and practical language use into lessons helps learners connect what they are learning with their everyday lives. Principle of individual differences. This principle acknowledges that each learner has unique needs, learning styles, and abilities. Effective language teaching should account for these individual differences, tailoring instruction to accommodate diverse learning preferences and levels. Functions of language. Informative function. This function involves conveying factual information and data. It's used to share knowledge, describe events, and provide explanations or instructions. Essentially, it's about using language to inform and educate others about the world. Expressive function. This function focuses on expressing the speaker's emotions, feelings, and personal thoughts. It's about revealing internal states and personal identity through language, allowing individuals to communicate their personal experiences and emotional responses. Directive function. This function is used to influence the behavior or actions of others. It includes giving commands, making requests, and offering suggestions. The aim is to direct or guide the actions and responses of the listener or recipient. Next, preservative function. Language serves to preserve and transmit culture, historical and social knowledge. This function involves recording and maintaining information about traditions, customs, and historical events, ensuring that they are passed down through generations. It helps in keeping cultural heritage and historical records intact. Functions of language can be divided into two. Primary function. Expression. This function involves using language to convey personal feelings, thoughts, and emotions. It is about sharing one's internal experiences and self identity. Secondary functions. Directive. This function is used to influence or guide others' actions, including giving commands, making requests, and offering advice. Communicative. This function facilitates the exchange of information and ideas between pupils. It helps in building and maintaining social relationships and in collaborative activities. Aesthetics. Language is used in a creative or artistic manner, emphasizing the beauty, style, and artistic value of expression. This includes literature, poetry, and other forms of artistic language use. Preservative. Language serves to preserve and transmit cultural heritage, tradition, and historical knowledge. It helps maintain and record cultural and historical context. Culture. Language plays a crucial role in the transmission and reinforcement of cultural norms, values, and practice, contributing to the cohesion and continuity of cultural identity. Information. Language is used to convey factual information and data. This function is about the objective transmission of knowledge and facts. Functions in classroom. Information function. This function is primarily about conveying factual content or knowledge. For example, a teacher explaining a mathematical concept or historical event uses the information function. Communication or interactive function. This function emphasizes the exchange of ideas and fostering interaction between students and teachers. It includes discussion, group work, and any activity that promotes dialogue and engagement. The goal is to facilitate communication and collaboration. Instrumental function. This function is concerned with using language or activities to achieve specific goals or tasks. It involves practical and utilitarian purposes such as giving instructions, setting assignments, or guiding students in completing tasks. For instance, a teacher giving step by step directions for a project uses the instrumental function. Next, regulative function. This function pertains to managing behavior and maintaining order in the classroom. It includes setting rules, providing feedback, and guiding students' action. For example, a teacher reminding students of classroom rules or managing classroom dynamics uses the regulative function. Next, personal function. This function focuses on expressing personal feelings, attitudes, or identity. It includes sharing personal experiences, giving encouragement, or providing emotional support. For example, a teacher sharing a personal story or giving positive reinforcement uses the personal function. Next, imaginative function. This function involves creativity and exploration of ideas beyond everyday reality. It includes activities that encourage imagination, such as storytelling, role playing, or creative writing. For instance, a teacher engaging students in a creative writing exercise or a drama activity uses the imaginative function. These functions work together to create a dynamic and effective learning environment in the classroom. Language and cognition. What is cognitive development? Cognitive development refers to the internal processes and changes in mental functions that lead to the development of knowledge, knowledge and understanding. It encompasses a broad range of mental activities and skills. Covers a wide aspects of mental activities, memorizing and categorizing, symbolizing. Memorizing, the ability to encode, store and retrieve information. Categorizing and symbolizing, organizing information into categories and using symbols like words or numbers to represent concepts. Problem solving and creativity, using cognitive processes to find solutions to problems and generating new ideas or approaches. Inventions, creating new tool technologies or methods. Dreaming and fantasizing, engaging in imaginative thought and creating mental scenarios. Reading and writing, skills involved in interpreting written text and producing written communication. Language acquisition, learning and understanding language, including the development of vocabulary and grammar. These processes are integral to how individuals learn, adapt, and interact with the environment. Language and cognition. Language not only helps us organize and express our thoughts but also shapes the way we think. Learning multiple languages can enhance cognitive flexibility and problem solving skills because each language provides different ways to conceptualize and understand the world. This can lead to faster and more nuanced thinking as we become more adept at processing and explaining information. Language and cognition. Humans are not born with language, but they learn with over time. As our mind learns language, the language creates a framework that allows our mind to form consistent and conscious thought. Language allows our mind to process the information in a consistent way. More language we learn, the faster our mind may be able to work. Language and cognition help for effective way for respond to various situations. Language is a tool. Language equips us with the means to respond appropriately to different situations. It provides a set of rules and structures that help us categorize and interpret experiences. For instance, knowing how to use polite language and professional jargon allow us to navigate social and professional contexts more effectively. Help to think. While language is often verbal, it can also facilitate thinking in images. When we use language to describe or conceptualize ideas, it can trigger mental imagery that aids in understanding and remembering information. Written language often translates complex concepts into visual symbols like letters and words, which help us to create mental images of the information. Language has important role in memory and thinking. Language plays a critical role in memory. It helps encode information into format that can be stored and retrieved more easily. For example, naming objects or categorizing information in language can make it easier to remember. Thinking process. Language structures our thoughts. When we think, we often do so using internal dialogue or verbal reasoning. This means language helps organize and clarify our thought, making it easier to analyze and articulate them. Transfer of thought. Help for transfer of thought from one mind to another. Communication. Language enables the transfer of thought from one person to another. Through spoken and written words, we can share ideas, experiences, and knowledge, facilitating communication and collaboration. Thoughts come first, while language is expression of it. While thoughts often comes first, language serves as a tool for expressing them. Our cognitive processes generate ideas and concepts which are then articulated through language. This means that language is a medium for expressing pre-existing thoughts rather than the source of those thoughts. Language. Cognition. Mental processes including thinking, understanding, learning, and remembering is cognition. Reasoning, inferencing, etc. Reasoning and inferencing, the process of drawing conclusion from premises or evidences. Categorizing and ecology. Organizing information into groups based on shared characteristics. Framing, cognitive modeling. How information is presented and structured in our minds, influencing our perception and understanding. Associative thinking. The process of connecting ideas based on their relationship or similarities. Analogizing, conceptual metaphor. Drawing comparison between different concepts to understand or explain them. Perception. How we interpret and make sense of sensory information from our environment. Emotion. The complex experiences involving psychological responses, subjective feeling, and behavioral reactions. Action. The physical responses or behaviors resulting from our cognitive and emotional states. Socio-communicative interaction. How we communicate and interact with others, encompassing verbal and non-verbal exchanges. Culture. The shared values, beliefs, and practices of a group which influences cognitive processes and social interactions. Language. The use of language to describe, explain, or convey cognitive and emotional states. Bodily experiences. How physical sensations and movements affect and are integrated into cognitive processes. These elements together create a comprehensive picture of how humans think, feel, and interact with the world and each other. Cognition. Abstract ideas. These are concepts that do not have physical form, like love, freedom, or justice. Language used to describe these ideas often involves abstract words or phrases. Abstract words or phrases. Words or phrases that represent intangible concept or idea such as happiness or democracy. Language descriptions of abstract thoughts. This involves how abstract ideas are communicated through language, often requiring complex or nuanced expression. Situation. Different contexts or scenarios in which language is used. Phrases and words may vary depending on the situation. Phrases. Phrases for situations. Specific expression or sentences tailored to particular context or scenarios. Objects. Physical items that can be described with specific words. Words for objects. Vocabulary used to name and describe tangible items. Sensory motor signals. These involve sensory experiences like sight, sound, touch, and motor actions like movement and how they relate to language. Sensory motor language models. Models that link language with sensory and motor experiences, helping to understand how physical experiences influence language use. Language sounds. How different sounds in language, phonetics and phonology contribute to meaning and communication.